Spider-Man is the only superhero whose biggest villain isn't a green goblin, but his angry landlord demanding rent. It all started in a high school lab when a genetically engineered spider decided to bite a teenager for no reason. Normal people get a fever and call in sick, but Peter Parker got severe body aches and woke up with six-pack abs. Suddenly, his glasses were useless. He spent $500 on an eye exam just to realize he had perfect vision. Instead of getting a cool super suit, his first instinct was shooting sticky, gross liquids from his wrists everywhere. He tried to climb a wall for the first time and immediately got his hand stuck to a brick. It was highly embarrassing. Then came the famous lesson: with great power comes great responsibility and absolutely zero financial compensation. He decided to fight crime in sweatpants and a ski mask. He looked less like a hero and more like a confused burglar. Eventually, he upgraded to a spandex suit that offered zero armor. One good punch to the ribs, and he was out cold. You'd think being a superhero means getting paid. Nope. He had to sell selfies of himself to a man who hated him. To pay his bills, the savior of New York had to deliver warm pizzas in under 8 minutes across Manhattan traffic. Swinging between giant buildings with pepperoni pizzas proved that gravity is a much tougher enemy than Dr. Octopus. He lost the pizza job because saving a bus full of children made him exactly 3 minutes late with a cheese slice. Every time he returns home after beating up a supervillain, his landlord is waiting right outside to demand money. The landlord doesn't care if a mechanical rhino destroyed the city. He just wants his $200 by Tuesday. Spider-Man can lift a car over his head, but he can't figure out how to fix the broken door on his tiny apartment. His love life is equally disastrous. Every time he tries to go on a date, a guy in a metal animal suit ruins the night. He finally tells the girl he likes the truth. She immediately gets kidnapped. It's basically a guaranteed weekly event. Let's talk about the villains. Why is every bad guy an eccentric scientist who built metal arms in a dusty basement? And why do they all throw pumpkin bombs? Pumpkins are for Halloween, not for domestic terrorism on the Brooklyn Bridge. Whenever he faces a bad guy, they always give a 20-minute speech about how society has wronged their science project. Meanwhile, our hero is just hanging upside down, waiting for the monologue to end so he can punch them in the face. Stopping a speeding train with his bare hands was cool, but the medical bills for tearing every muscle were astronomical. He literally passed out from exhaustion, and a bunch of train passengers had to carry him like a heavy sack of potatoes. They promised they wouldn't tell anyone his secret identity, which was great because he was too tired to memory wipe them. When life got too stressful, an alien goo fell from space and decided to bond with him. Obviously, it turned him evil. But being evil in this universe just meant wearing an all-black suit and slicking his hair down in the strangest way. He started doing uncomfortable jazz dance moves on the city sidewalk, pointing finger guns at horrified pedestrians. The entire city was under attack, but Spider-Man was busy buying black clothes and hip-thrusting outside a boutique. He finally got rid of the alien suit by ringing a loud church bell, which is terrible news for aliens, but great for priests. Iron Man gets a billion-dollar mansion, Batman has a cave, but Spider-Man gets a cold slice of leftover pepperoni. He went to space once. It was terrifying, and he turned into dust for 5 years, missing out on massive rent inflation. When he came back, his apartment cost triple. Saving the universe actually ruined his credit score for the rest of his life. He tried to ask a wizard to make people forget his mistakes, but he talked too much and accidentally shattered reality. Instead of stopping crime, he spent the afternoon fighting guys made of literal sand and raw electricity in a sandbox. A giant, glowing multiverse portal opened in the sky, spilling out dozens of colorful heroes who looked exactly like him. Suddenly, 3 different Spider-Men appeared at once, pointing at each other in a filthy alleyway in total confusion. They spent 3 hours comparing their back pain and discussing whether their web fluid came from organic bodily functions. It turns out, no matter what universe you are from, being a Spider-Man guarantees you will be broke and chronically single. A million variants across infinite timelines, and not a single one of them has enough money to buy a decent turkey sandwich. They teamed up to cure the villains instead of punching them. It was a beautiful moment of multiversal healthcare. But at the end of the day, everyone forgot who he was. His friends, his girlfriend, his boss. He was completely alone. Did he get a reward? No. He moved into an even smaller apartment with a single sewing machine and a leaky window. He now spends his nights swinging through the snow, stopping petty thieves who steal purses from little old ladies. He is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The emphasis is on neighborhood because he definitely can't afford to travel. Sometimes he tries to take the subway, but people just stare at the guy in the red tights taking up 2 plastic seats. His suit constantly rips in the crotch area during high kicks, forcing him to learn advanced needlepoint techniques. He once tried to monetize his powers by entering a wrestling match, but the promoter scammed him out of $3,000. Every villain knows his secret identity. They literally just walk into his house and drink his coffee while waiting for him. He has zero work-life balance. Imagine trying to finish a high school math test while a guy dressed as a vulture hovers outside. He doesn't have an HR department. When a concrete pillar falls on him, he just has to cry and lift it up by himself. He constantly ruins his own backpacks by webbing them to alleyway walls and forgetting exactly which brick he left them on. If he runs out of web fluid mid-swing, he just plummets into a dumpster. Gravity is the only villain he can never defeat. He tried to join the Avengers, but they treated him like an unpaid intern who was only there to fetch coffee and make jokes. Even the billionaire genius who mentored him just gave him a fancy suit and told him to stay out of the dangerous stuff. When the billionaire died, he left him highly dangerous orbital strike glasses, which he immediately gave to a stranger. He got tricked by a guy wearing a fishbowl on his head. A literal fishbowl. The illusionist just used angry combat drones. His best friend discovered his secret because he walked into his bedroom while he was casually crawling on the ceiling. His aunt discovered his secret because he left his door open while wearing the suit. He has terrible operational security. Every time he tries to have a normal vacation in Europe, water monsters destroy the romantic canals of Venice. He can never just enjoy a chuo. If he buys a chuo, a bank robbery will instantly happen 3 blocks down the street. His spidey sense alerts him to danger, which sounds cool, but it basically just means he has chronic, unending anxiety. He can sense a punch coming from behind, but he still can't sense when his landlord is going to change the locks. He uses complicated chemical formulas to make webs, proving he is a genius who refuses to patent his billion-dollar tech. If he just sold his web fluid to the military, he could retire in a mansion. Instead, he uses it to tie up bicycle thieves. He constantly has to wash his suit at public laundromats, hoping nobody notices the bright red spandex in the dryer. He tried washing it with his normal clothes once, and turned all of his plain white t-shirts completely pink. When winter comes, the suit offers zero insulation. He swings over the snowy rooftops, freezing out of his absolute mind. He tried wearing a beanie over his mask, but it just made him look like a colorful mugger running away from a crime scene. He is forced to listen to terrible podcasts from angry journalists claiming he is a public menace who eats pigeons. He doesn't eat pigeons. He just eats incredibly cheap hot dogs from street vendors while perching awkwardly on gargoyles. Whenever he strikes a heroic pose on a flagpole, his hamstrings scream in agony. The superhero landing is terrible on the knees. He once fought a guy made entirely of water, which is impossible to punch. He essentially got into a fistfight with a puddle. He fought a guy made of sand, which meant he spent the next 3 months vacuuming the beach out of his apartment carpet. He even fought a guy who rode a flying surfboard. New York is an absolute magnet for the weirdest transportation methods. If you think about it, he is the ultimate tragic figure. He sacrifices his happiness so that normal people can safely walk to work. But the normal people just yell at him for denting their cars when he accidentally drops a supervillain on the hood. The police don't even like him. They constantly point guns at him while he's literally handing them the bank robbers wrapped in a bow. He gets yelled at by the cops, yelled at by his boss, yelled at by villains, and yelled at by his very aggressive landlord. It's a miracle he hasn't just quit and become an accountant. The math is simple. Saving the world pays exactly $0. Yet, every time the siren wails, he pulls that smelly, unwashed mask over his face and dives off a perfectly good building. He doesn't do it for the fame, because everyone hates him. He doesn't do it for the money, because he is aggressively poor. He does it because some old guy told him to, right before dying. Guilt is the strongest superpower in the entire Marvel universe. No amount of therapy can fix the trauma of being Spider-Man, mostly because he can't afford a therapist with his current copay. So he just talks to himself, constantly. quipping and joking while dodging deadly lasers, using humor as a desperate defense mechanism. It is a lonely, stressful, financially ruinous lifestyle. Being Spider-Man is objectively the worst job on the planet. But as long as there is crime in the city, the stickman in the cheap red mask will be there, ready to get punched through a brick wall, ready to miss another date, ready to fail another math test, ready to dodge his landlord for the 5th time this week. Because that's what heroes do. They suffer in silence, save the world, and then go home to eat cold, leftover pizza in the dark. And honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. Keep swinging, you beautifully broke, wonderfully tragic web slinger.